Offering empathy first. In most cases, however, another step needs to take place before we can expect the other party to connect with what is going on in us. Because it will often be difficult for others to receive our feelings and needs in such situations. If we want them to hear us, we would need first to empathize with them. The more we empathize with what leads them to behave in the ways they are not meeting our needs, the more likely it is that they will be able to reciprocate afterwards. Over the last 30 years, I've had a wealth of experience speaking in VC with people who harbor strong beliefs about specific races and ethnic groups. Early one morning, I was picked up by a cab at an airport to take me into town. The more we hear them, the more they'll hear us. A message from the dispatcher came over the loudspeaker for the cabbie. Pick up Mr. Fishman at the synagogue on Main Street. The man next to me in the cab muttered, "These guys get up early in the morning so they can screw everybody out of their money." For 20 seconds, there was smoke coming out of my ears. In earlier years, my first reaction would have been to want to physically hurt such a person. Instead, I took a deep breath, gave myself some empathy for the hurt, fear, and rage that was stirring inside me. I attended to my feelings. I stayed conscious that my anger wasn't coming from my fellow passenger nor the statement he had just made. His comment had triggered off a volcano inside of me, but I knew that my anger and profound fear came from a far deeper source than those words he had just uttered. I sat back and simply allowed the violent thoughts to play themselves out. I even enjoyed the image of actually grabbing his head and smashing it. Giving himself this empathy enabled me to focus my attention on the humanness behind his message. After which, the first words out of my mouth were, "Are you feeling?" I tried to empathize with him, to hear his pain. Why? Because I wanted to see the beauty in him and I wanted for him to fully apprehend what I had experienced when he made his remark. I knew I wouldn't receive that kind of understanding if there were a storm brewing inside of him. My intention was to connect with him and show a respectful empathy for the life energy in him that was behind the comment. Stay conscious of the violent thoughts that arise in our minds without judging them. My experience told me that if I were able to empathize, then he would be able to hear me in return. I would not be easy, but he would be able to. "Are you feeling frustrated?" I asked. "It appears that you might have some bad experiences with Jewish people." He eyed me for a moment. "Yeah, these people are disgusting. They'll do anything for money." "You feel distrust and the need to protect yourself when you're involved in financial affairs with them?" When we hear another person's feelings and needs, we recognize our common humanity. "That's right," he exclaimed, continuing to release more judgments as I listened for the feeling and the need behind each one. When we settle our attention on other people's feelings and needs, we experience our common humanity. When I hear that he is scared and wants to protect himself, I recognize how I also have a need to protect myself, and I too know what it's like to be scared. When my consciousness is focused on another human being's feelings and needs, I see the universality of our experience. I had a major conflict with what went on in his head, but I've learned that I enjoy human beings more if I don't hear what they think, especially with folks who have this kind of thoughts. I've learned to savor life much more by only hearing what's going on in their hearts and not getting caught up with the stuff in their heads. This man kept on pouring out his sadness and frustration. Before I knew it, he had finished with Jews and moved on to blacks. He was charged with pain around a number of subjects. Nearly 10 minutes of my just listening, he stopped. He had felt understood.